How can interior designers differentiate themselves in a crowded online space? What type of content should designers create for trust and conversion? What metrics should you pay attention to maximize that return on investment when it comes to those really important marketing dollars? Where should you start with your marketing strategies if you just created a brand new firm? And does curb appeal matter when you Google your design firm? Paid advertising. Is there value in a pay-to-play model? I hope you've got your favorite beverage and are sitting somewhere comfy because this episode will have your attention. Erin Brown and Carrie Jackson join me for today's roundtable about marketing strategies. Meet Carrie. First up, Carrie is a marketing, social media, copywriting, graphic design, systems, and procedures guru. She helps businesses with their marketing strategy by creating systems and processes to streamline workflows and projects within their business models. Carrie plays multiple roles for each client to cater and showcase their best talents. Also, Aaron. He is an accomplished digital marketer, website developer, and SEO expert. He has a keen understanding of both marketing and web development. This marriage of marketing skills and digital execution is a unique treasure. With Aaron's resourcefulness, technical finesse, and strategic mindset, he's not just a problem solver. He's the bridge between innovative ideas and their effective execution. And don't forget, stay tuned to find out how much of your budget you should be spending on marketing. It's coming up in today's colorful question. Hey guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
We are so excited that you are here. I love doing roundtables because it's so great to get different perspectives about the same topic and literally gather everybody in one space virtually. Yay, technology. But I want to start off with, we obviously have SEO and we have social media represented today. So from each of your perspectives, and you worked with our firm, interior design is a crowded space, and how I'm starting out in my business, or I've been around for a while, but I've known I need to do social media and I need to do search engine optimization or SEO. But how do I differentiate myself? That's like a really hard space to hang out in. Aaron, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. It is a crowded space, and I think that two tactics you can do are to really niche down, and then also just define your unique voice, right? So by niche down, I mean figure out something that's unique that you can offer that other people cannot offer nearly as well. And that could be your geography, right? Where you're located, if it's just your town and there's not other interior designers around, or could be a particular topic that you do. You know, maybe you specialize in a certain color palette. Maybe you specialize in a particular style of furniture, right? So find something that could be your niche that can really help set you apart. And then your unique voice, try to stand apart and be the best version of you can be. And that can be challenging because it feels risky for a lot of people. And so, however, when you go out and do a search for, interior designer near me and see, 20 results coming up, you need to look at that field and say, how can I stand apart from this field?
I agree. I mean, especially, I think design people tend to be creative people by nature, obviously. So in the social media space, we see a lot of your industry, which is awesome because there's so many ideas, so many different styles, so many different personalities out there. That being said, I think the best thing when you're presenting yourself and your business on social media is to be as genuine and as personalized as you can be. People, want to work with people that they like and people that they trust. And by sharing your experiences in the field with other clients, with other customers, I think that's how you set yourself apart. People remember how they felt when they worked with professionals, and a lot of people are very intimidated when it comes to design and things that they don't possess the talent to do themselves. And so I think they're intimidated. So I think making it, a personal touch, and just knowing that you're going to take it from here, being that one-stop shop, and your questions are my questions and your goals are our goals. So that's kind of my take. I also think, just on the social media side, just being super consistent.
Mm,
People want to work with people that are consistent. That they see, and they grow to kind of expect what you're going to put out there. So I
so
love that
true.
you do the blog. I love that you do the webcast, and that goes on to a whole nother topic of just the multi-layering. I think you really can't pinhole yourself into one area of social media marketing, because your audience is everywhere,
Yeah, they're tapping into
and you're
all
really good
sorts
at
of
that.
areas. Oh, thank you. Well, that's because of you guys being on
Hmm.
our
Hmm.
team. And I'm always so thankful for the folks we have on our team because you make it look easy. And it feels easy to me, which I absolutely love. I think you brought up a key point too about making it personal. And that's something, full disclosure, and I will always say this on the webcast and share where I'm at, but that's something I struggle with is it's letting, which everyone wants, but it's giving access to your personal life, giving access because it
Mm.
humanizes you. It's not this
Hmm.
talking head syndrome,
Hmm.
right? And so it makes you real. And to your point, Carrie, relatable. So it doesn't feel like, oh, there's
Yeah.
someone who does design and I'm not there. It makes it
Hmm.
human. It makes it approachable. It removes those barriers of like, oh gosh, their kids are a hot mess about playing out in the snow or whatever as well. It's not just me. Or they have a quirky husband who does crazy things at their house too. Like how my husband put out a dryer ball and set my glasses on it and made a whole face with a book. I'm like, I felt like I was on a cruise ship. Like, those are the sweet moments though that I think are fun to share because they do make it real. Let me go back to Erin for a minute. What types of content do you feel interior designers should create in order to capture that attention? And we know it's all about building trust and then conversion. We have to have the
Sure.
conversion because it's great to pour money into marketing, but I feel like that's where a lot of designers toggle back because they are like, well, I had this SEO person once and I don't really know what they did. And I don't know if I got more clients from that or not. How do we get over that and start seeing the direct correlation?
Sure. Great question. So from SEO in general, right? I mean, specifically to content, I think there are some bottom line things that you just have to get into interior design. One is going to be good pictures of your work, right? So on your website, you're going to need some sort of pictures of your work, and you're going to need to describe it well. You're going to need to say, this is what I did, and this is what I took it from before to after. Your guys' industry lends itself so well to befores and afters, right?
Yes.
And that's a quick way to communicate with people. This is what I can do for you. Um, when it comes to SEO, SEO is an offshoot of marketing in general, right? And luckily, Google and Bing, their algorithms have changed over the years to get away from some formulaic thing that we're trying to like crack the black box to just being more good old fashioned marketing. And it's about providing helpful, good content on your site.
Mm,
So can you produce any sort of content on your site that is showing that you have firsthand experience in it, right? So you can speak to it in the first person, share your experiences, like Carrie said, or your customers' experiences. That will separate you apart from other people. Shows you
yeah.
have expertise in the field, right? So you've got expert content that's using, really rich keywords that matter for interior designers. Um, does it show that you have expertise in the sense of your degrees and titles? Do you have
Mm,
engaged users on the site, maybe providing some content for you, right? Whether that's a guest post or they're giving reviews and ratings. And then anything in your content that's going to add to your authority, right? So that's like you have a
yes.
great depth of content or breadth of content.
Hmm.
All of it is high quality and it's answering some question that they came in with, right? Google's main job Google's main job is to make a lot of money for their investors, right?
That's
And the
very
way that
true.
they do that,
Hmm.
yeah, the way that they do that is they convince us that they are the absolute best source to go to get answers for stuff, right? And
That's true
so
too.
for them, they
Hmm.
they have to make sure that they're providing the best answers. Otherwise, we're going to not come back to them anymore. And the way that they try to do that then is provide the most helpful content possible. So if you want to rank well and you want to show up in the top of the results ahead of your competitors, then you need to prove that you're the best answer to the question, right? And the questions for interior design are things like, interior designer near me, or Southwestern interior designer, or, just whatever phrases that people are really looking for, that something triggered in them, right? They have a journey of, I'm wondering if I should have an interior designer come and do this. I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I've always wanted to have an interior designer, right? They're starting with some set of questions and then ending up at your site, hopefully, right? And so that whole journey is going to go from search and social and all these other signals that exist today to end up with you. So the content on your site has to be able to answer those questions, right? And it has to do it in a high quality, helpful kind of way. Um, Websites, you used to be able to get away with having sort of a brochure website, right? It just
Sure.
describes who you are, what you do. Nowadays, it's more about who you are, what you do. Those are just like the barrier to entry. You have to have those. And then on top of that, you just
Yeah.
need to answer people's questions, right? You need to be as helpful as possible and think ahead to what are those questions that are going to bring them to your site. Part of it's going to be, what's your experience? How come I can trust you over other people? What are you going to offer me that others don't? Or to Carrie's point, if you can get there, this is sort of the really high end good stuff is, how do you make me feel when I come to your site? Does it feel like a good fit that I can tell just right away, like, this person gets me and I like their style, right?
It reminds me of the old Maya Angelou
Yeah.
quote when she said, they will never remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And I think that's so
Mm-hmm.
true, especially with clients. They're looking back again to connection and communication. It's such an important thing. Carrie, it's a little bit different on the social media side because you're getting a snapshot in time. We're seeing the social media timeframes shrink, 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 shrink as our attention spans shrink, 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 shrink. And so you have a limited time to capture and do. How do you do that?
Very good question, and I do think it's shrinking. And it's not even just the time; it's like just the trends and the algorithms. It's constantly changing, and I think always going to the basics and making sure that your call to action or your intended piece of content, your topic is very clear.
Yeah.
It's the focus of your image, the focus of your video. It's clear, and a lot of people listen without volume. A lot of people
Yes.
don't read the captions. You really have to cover all of your bases. Is it easy to see what the point is? Is it easy to catch on as you're listening to what the point is? And, you go into that, everyone learns differently, everyone listens differently, everyone retains things differently.
Yes.
So I think by having that variety too is important. So it's really not about having these long, elaborate,
Yeah.
videos or it's and I think the more we get into technology, the more we are wired to for that quick action. I
Yeah.
mean, it can be a portfolio that at one point we maybe would have wanted to do this very elegant, like page turning, presentation,
Digital catalog.
whereas
Yeah.
now you can get the same point across just yeah, just with a quick roll through slideshow.
I think that point is so well made. I mean, especially about everyone's consuming in a different way. Like I remember when my kids were little, and I would be sitting there at 2 a.m. breastfeeding, and you can darn bloody well be betting there was no sound going on. And if you had, I would be sitting there looking, and if you had captions and you were giving me text, I was your new best friend. But if you were just a talking mouth, it was a boop, swipe right, we're moving on. It was just very, I think, understanding your market. Again, this is understanding your market and knowing where they're going to meet you. It's also back to kind of that ROI and metrics. I feel like when we talk about marketing, a lot of firms don't invest in it because they don't see that direct return on investment, or they don't see those exact conversion rates. And especially when times when economics is such, like where interest rates are high, maybe people aren't moving as much, maybe it has impacted your firm. That makes you even less inclined to spend marketing money, which is actually the time when you need to be spending it more, so you're top of consciousness when that log jam kind of breaks. What metrics should you be looking for, Aaron, when it comes to SEO? What should your SEO provider be providing to you beyond a bill every month that says, I optimized your site? Because I once had somebody do that and I was like, how? Why? When? I had so many questions. And this is why I was very glad to find
Right?
you through a great referral and to go, oh, you have pages of data that actually makes sense to me. This is what I'm paying for. What should they be looking for?
Yeah.
At a minimum, what should your SEO person be providing to you?
Yeah, they should be showing measurable impact, right? So I don't like to pursue vanity numbers, right? Vanity numbers are those ones that
Yes,
just make you feel good. Like, oh, we drove 10,000 views to your site, or your podcast got, 1 million listens. It just doesn't matter.
totally.
The question you should be asking them to answer is, how much business did you bring me, right? How many
Yeah.
clients can you connect to your work? That's the bottom line, right? And it's hard to measure that, particularly in interior design, right? Where a lead is going to come in possibly over the phone in a way that's not as
Yeah.
trackable as, say, a form submission or something that's more, has a digital footprint to it. But
Yeah.
um, there are ways to do it. And so they should be looking at how can they connect the dots to lead to, this effort led to this traffic that led to this customer. And whatever that key performance indicator is for you, that's what they need to be reporting on. Um, in interior design, I believe that's customers, right? So how many customers did we earn this month from our work?
Yeah.
And Carrie said something really key too, to the content point that you asked earlier, is you've got to have calls to action on your website, right?
Yes. Yes.
I would really encourage interior designers to think of their website and their entire web presence as direct marketing. Direct marketing meaning there's going to be some sort of direct response to it, right? It's not just we're going to build this and hope that they come, right? Instead, it's we're doing this so that we get a direct response that we can measure from it. So on the website, you have things that are, so glad that you're here. Here's our stuff. This is how I do it. And call me today, or if you're interested to get more, fill out this, like something that's going to interest them to give you some piece of information that you can start following up with them on, right? You have to have a call to action. Otherwise, it's like you had this great first date and then they didn't call, right? You're just like, oh,
Worst
that would
feeling
have been nice. I
ever.
think I like that person.
Yeah. No, I think call to
Right?
actions are critical. We just call them CTAs. Like every time my team assigns me a blog post to produce, it's blog post, a space for the title, and then in parentheses, CTA. So I don't forget, you've got to have the call to action because you should
Yeah, right.
always be driving the business. And to your point too, Aaron, I think it's such a good one. We don't always know how people come in. We've started making that a standard part of when people call the firm. Hey, so glad that you called. How did you hear about us? And they love to tell us. They're like, oh, I found it
Yeah,
on
right.
Google, or Jane Doe referred us and we just loved how her kitchen turned out. Like it's always interesting to me where these leads do come from, and it's sometimes places you wouldn't expect, but it's a nice icebreaker in addition to gathering intel, we have found. And so we like to ask right off the bat, hey, thanks so much for calling. How'd you hear about us? Like it's a great, not necessarily
Right.
to your point about KPIs. We don't always document it and keep track of it, which honestly we
Sure.
probably should, but we know, okay, this is where we're seeing that come in. Carrie, how about metrics for you in the social world? Because I feel like, not to be cliche, but it can be like nailing Jello to a wall.
Absolutely. And like we've talked about before, I think we've kind of touched on it, but maybe not so much, but different demographics
Yeah.
are on different platforms. So, your numbers and of course we've got the two sides to your particular business, and we've even seen that those numbers between the two businesses can be very different, sometimes even opposite, in
Yeah.
that our target demographic is, primarily on LinkedIn. I think you make great connections on LinkedIn,
Yep.
for the firm side. I
Yep.
think it's remarkable, and it's definitely the best place for your niche market,
Yep.
for your avatar client, looking in that commercial space and multifamily, and um, that's definitely the best place. Our analytics are better there.
Yep.
Our growth is better there,
Yep.
and our consistency, like it's pretty solid.
Yep.
So, and then I think too, with the social platforms, the algorithms are changing constantly.
Yep.
So I honestly don't put just like a ton of value in those, because I don't ever really feel like we're comparing apples to apples from
No
month to month.
doubt.
Because, 1 month Instagram wants you to do this, and then 1 month, Facebook is prioritizing video, and then you hear now that it's the stories. It is very hard. So I wouldn't want anyone to base big decisions off of a very short term analysis of data on social platforms, because it is hard. But I do a lot of work with realtors, and kind of to your point, that Aaron was saying, and you had said too, that like this is not the time, to be slowing down. Like the market is changing. I tell my clients consistently that we have to use our social media platforms as essentially a billboard.
Yeah.
It's the first place anyone goes to do any research, along with Google. They're going to, do they have a Facebook page? Are they on Instagram? If somebody wants to refer someone, more than likely they're going to send over an Instagram reel and say, hey, look at this. I meant to tell you they did so-and-so's kitchen. Or so just making sure that your social presence
Yeah.
is portraying the vision that you want for your business. It's kind of like a billboard is how I explain it. What you go in there, you got to look live. You have to be active and consistent. I mean, you don't need to be in there every day 4 or 5 times a day,
Yeah.
but just be consistent. Show that you're actively working on your business. You actively have clients that are happy with your work, reporting great things, and you're able to answer those questions. Whether people are acting or not, they still have questions. They're going to be using this time to research and collect data and figure out, where their next move might be.
Well, and I think too, that's such a good point. And it's just not being desperate and not being knee jerk. They are going to watch your social media presence. If you're consistent in that, that directly reflects on your business. Oh, they're consistent. They just come, go as they happen to have some extra marketing dollars lying around. It's actually an intentionality of this is what we're looking to spend on marketing this year. This is how we're going to do it. We know what our target market is. We know where to find them. Man, that's just critical to be able to do that and show up for that. I remember when I was starting my firm, it was very overwhelming. I'm like, well, I can't afford social media and then SEO and then. And that was like a really hard thing to choose. Like, where do I niche down and where do I go? And man, it just comes back to knowing that target market again, because they're all consuming in different ways. To Aaron's point of, it's not just a brochure that's your website anymore. There needs to be a, hey, hi, glad you're here. We're really here to help you. We would really love to help you. Give us a call today to help you. Like, it's such a different format than it used to be, and knowing where to spend. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
We started with SEO way back in the day. And that was almost 20 years ago. And now there's this whole new world and things are moving so fast. Maybe I sound really old saying that, but just the advent of TikTok, and like, there's just this turn that if you're in this and you're solopreneuring and you're just starting out on your own, oh my gosh, it's like drinking out of a fire hydrant. I'm curious, from each of your respective modalities, where do you think you should start? If I'm like, gosh, I'm Katie and I'm just starting out and I just hung out my shingle and I'm really proud to do this and I need to get the word out, but where do I start? Because this is a lot.
I would say sort of things you can do today that you can check these off if you haven't done them yet.
Yeah.
From search would be make sure you check your digital footprint. Like do a search for your brand name. Uh, if you pull that up, you'll see how you're listed. You'll see maybe a side panel for you, right? Make sure that you're able to curate that the way that it wants or the way that you want it to be, right? How do you look? That's sort of the curb appeal of digital marketing, right? Is how do I look when I
Yes.
type in my name? That's what people are going to see. Is it attractive enough and compelling enough that they're going to walk through that front door? And so that would mean getting a Google business profile set up, a Bing Places listing, starting to solicit for, not solicit, but just ask your customers for reviews and ratings, right? Those can be
Absolutely.
done on Google or Yelp or Facebook or Houzz in your guys' industry, right?
Mhm.
Asking any partners that you have to link to your website to try to help you get some more trust and authority with search engines is a good idea. Plus, that's traffic that could legitimately come into your site, right? Um, those are some little things you can do today, and you have control over those, right? Those aren't
Very
things
much
that are
so.
only being done on your behalf or out of your control. You can control those things. Um,
Those are great. Those are
yeah, and
great,
I,
great
I would
points.
reiterate niching down and really just thinking through people's questions. People want to, like you said, be heard, Katie, and understood. When you create a niche and you pursue that, you can now speak to them, more uniquely. You can say, I understand your unique problem. Because
Yeah.
Mhm.
we all think we're unique and that we all have unique problems,
So
right?
disappointing that we're
But it
not.
feels, but for search, if you have a page that specifically addresses, say you've got a niche of, you work in Arizona and you do a lot of Southwestern feel things, right? You can address those specifically and say, we understand this particular marketplace. And then when somebody's searching around, you become the easy choice, right? Over other
Mhm.
interior designers who may also understand, the Southwest appeal, but, they don't have this huge experience or focus on it like you do. Yeah. So if you can change your content to help people understand that you get them, you're speaking to them uniquely, and you can create separate pages for that, great. But yeah, reviews and ratings, Google Business Profile, Bing Places listing. Check your own footprint and see what it looks like.
That's great. And Carrie, I can't wait to hear your
Mhm.
thoughts on this, but I know I sound like the broken record, but I'm constantly saying if you're trying to be everything to everyone, you are nothing to no one. Find your lane and drive the
Mhm.
hell out of it is my recommendation. You've got to figure
Yep.
out who you're going after and get going down that road. Carrie, how would you respond to that question?
Hmm.
Yep. Yeah, and even to expand on that, I mean, I feel like um, when we try to speak to everyone,
Yeah.
we're just kind of that Charlie Brown teacher, that doesn't really grasp anyone's attention. It all just
Yes.
seems very cliche and robotic. And I think sometimes you feel like you're giving not giving up on, or you're like limiting yourself by niching down,
Hmm.
but really I feel like those aren't your people anyway. Like if this is your
Yeah. The
specialty,
tire
if this
kickers.
is where your primary
Hmm.
focus and your primary superpowers are, then niching down and targeting that audience is going to be so much more rewarding than trying
Hmm.
to appease everyone. So that definitely on that. And when it comes to like, so where do you start? I would say to start where you're most comfortable. Where are your people?
I
Where
like
are
that.
Hmm.
your sphere of influence, your friends and family, and maybe, if you've had a few clients under your belt, where are they hanging out? Are they
Yeah.
on Facebook? Are they on Instagram? If you work more on a business side of the design, then maybe LinkedIn is more, fit for you. But I would encourage someone to really choose one and
Yeah.
really do your very best work there. And then when you feel like
Hmm.
your profile is working, everything's current, everything's up to date, you've got, your mission statement, your contact information, links to your portfolio, links to your website, reviews. When you have all of those things covered and you've got a well-oiled machine, then it would be very easy to tack on Instagram or
Yeah.
tack on another platform
Yeah.
if you want to. But I would just choose one and full speed ahead.
Well, because I will tell you, even as a consumer, regardless of what I'm looking for, if I see the social media icons at the bottom of a website and I click on one and it was updated circa the War of 1812, I don't feel like
Yeah.
they're going to be current in their industry. So rather than seeing a
Yeah.
bevy of social media icons at the bottom, I would see one really great Instagram. When I click on, I'm like, okay, they know their target audience. They know what they're showing up for. I can get a capability gauge of what they can do. Like that alone can be a tipping point, instead of having 6 icons that are like, well, they got on there last year.
Absolutely.
Especially, I feel like in the last 5 years, we've just seen the world change so quickly. And back to attention spans being fast, things are moving much faster, I feel like, too, as far as consumption, which brings up the point of paid advertising. This is the big question. Do you pay to play when it comes to the digital world? Is there value in paying to play, or are the search engines and all the little bots getting sophisticated enough to say, no, we want to seek out organic content? And this is kind of a double-edged sword if you're in the business of making money. To your point, Aaron, if Google wants to make money, what's better than paid advertising? Yeah, but they got to be authentic still and actually provide good content. So do I pay to play or do I pass?
It depends. I think you should test it and try it.
Yeah.
I mean, it really boils down to what is your ROI on that, right? So if your margin on a customer is $10,000, you can afford to pay for a lot of clicks, right?
Yeah.
If it's costing you $1 a click and you get 100 clicks, but you have a 1% close rate, you only paid $100 for that customer that's going to make you $10,000. So was that worth it? Absolutely.
That's
But
good marketing.
if your close rate is 0.0, but if your close rate is 0.001%, right? Well, now you paid $10,000 for a $10,000 customer. That was not probably worth it, right? So you have to figure that out. And at least in the interior design industry, the clients do have a higher margin. So there's a better chance that advertising could work. You just need to really target, you need to target closely and understand your customers, right? Where are they? What are they interested in? Who are the most valuable ones? And if you're just starting out, you're not going to know some of that stuff, right? And so you're going to need to just test it. I would say, this is getting very specific, but inside of things like Google Ads and Bing Ads, they want you to do the simplest route forward, which is just sort of this like entry flow. You pick a few keywords and they say, great, we're going to, create your ads, and they'll create the ads using AI, and then you just go. And they make it just very simple to spend a tremendous amount of money. But you're just, unless you're able to measure that return and know somebody came in from that ad. Right. I would recommend instead clicking on the, no, I'm going to just figure out how to do this in an advanced way and be an advanced user. So click on that advanced setup and then pick phrases that are more specific to you, right? Don't do broad match. Do phrase match phrases and things that limit, because otherwise Google's going to try to show your ad to just as broad, a group of people as possible. Instead, really ratchet it down and say, I only want people who are searching for this specific phrase. And if that means I only get in front of 100 people instead of 100,000, that's fine. Because again, I don't need to feel good about 100,000 people seeing my ad.
Right.
That won't make me feel good or put food on my table. What makes me feel good is that somebody came in and became a customer from it, right? And through ads, you can definitely track that. You can use display advertising. Google Performance Max has shown. I've become sort of a convert to Google Performance Max, which is one of their particular packages that shows everywhere. It shows up in your Gmail. It shows up in news feeds. It shows up on search, also in display ads on other people's sites. It can be pretty effective. We're coming into a cookieless world, a third-party cookieless world, which is going to help.
Really?
Privacy, but it's also going to drive conversion rates down a little bit. Yeah, it's starting very soon, like in weeks.
Speak to that.
And
That's
so when that happens, sure. In years past, since cookies were first invented many, many years ago, they became very effective at following you around the web. And so if I visit, Levi's, And then I go to Facebook. Now I'm seeing Levi's ads, and I think, what the heck? How in the world did they do that? And it might
I'm a
not even be a
stalker.
Levi's ad from Levi's. It might,
Right.
that's right. It might be a Levi's ad from, Macy's or something, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. That's because they're sharing that information. They're leaving this little breadcrumb trail. You are leaving a breadcrumb trail. They're sucking it up, right? And so they get all of that information together, and then they have a really amazingly detailed profile of you on the web, and so they can serve you very
Creepy.
targeted ads, right?
Very creepy,
We've
but
shifted.
real.
Yeah, it's creepy, but from a marketing perspective, it fits everything we've talked about here.
Also
Finding
true.
your target, the ones that you speak their language and they speak your language. So it's like we love it as marketers, but we hate it as consumers. And so we don't hate it as consumers because we don't like seeing ads that are totally not applicable to us. Any case, everybody in, especially the EU started it and then pushed it over here to America is we want more privacy. We want to have control over who has our information and what they're doing with it. So Chrome is coming out in a few weeks with getting rid of third-party cookies. So when that happens, those advertisers won't have that breadcrumb trail anymore, which means now they see Katie browsing and they can make some specific things about, she's on the Levi's site, so we'll show her Levi's ads here. But when you go to Facebook, they won't know anymore that you were browsing the Levi's site. So those ads are going to become less personable. They're going to have to go off of, if you're on Facebook and they're advertising to you, they're going to have to use whatever information they already have about you and know about you. It'll be more general, right? It won't be the red sweater that you just looked at over on Target.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So we expect conversion rates to go down, maybe 20 to 30%. We'll see. When Apple tightened up their privacy, people on Facebook experienced about a 20 to 30% decline in their conversion rates. Right? So all the more reason to be niche and to have a site that can close well, that focuses on direct response, that has calls to action. Right? You've got to have these things now more than ever as we get into this third-party cookieless world. But yes, it can be worth it. It absolutely can be worth it.
Okay. Spend it wisely. Know your why. Know how much you want to spend and come at it. Carrie, I want to talk trends because it's a great conversation. We talk trends in design industry all the time. What trends are you seeing in the social world? And it was interesting. I was actually reading about how Taylor Swift's company is pulling a lot of her stuff off TikTok these days. And TikTok, of course, has been very controversial. But what trends are we seeing and where are socials going? And I feel like there's a strong push for differentiation by platform.
I do too. I feel like I've read a lot more of that. And I think when it comes to the differentiation, that's kind of a hard word to say.
It's a mouthful.
It is. It's to me, I feel like it goes back to you're speaking to a different audience. So like sometimes as a social media marketer, we will use the same video that's a reel on. In fact, I put our reels on LinkedIn. Obviously, a reel is not created for LinkedIn.
Sure.
It's not optimized for our LinkedIn audience, but it's great content. It's a video. It changes up our content on LinkedIn so that they're not always reading a long form blog or article. They see a glimpse. Video shares a little bit more character, a little bit more personality with it. But I do think that's interesting that, I do get the vibe that things need to be tweaked a little bit. Like, you can put a video on TikTok, but the educational video that you put on Instagram, outlining the top 5 reasons for X, Y, or Z may not do so well on TikTok unless it's reformatted in some way. Because that's just a little bit, I picture TikTok as a little bit more entertainment.
Totally.
And Instagram is a little bit more educational, and it's obviously we go there for entertainment too. But so I think that's where that differentiation, comes about. When it comes to trends, I feel like it's anything right now. I think the more personal you can be, the better. It's the live video. It's the stories. I mean, and I see a lot of really, really good marketers that probably have 15 to 20 stories a day.
Oh, wow.
But
Ooh.
we're talking, it's like it's like four of them before they've even started their day. It's their coffee. It's maybe their daily affirmation. I don't know. It's everyone, kind of finds their own pattern.
Mhm.
But I do think, and I have read recently that those stories are where the not so much engagement,
But
but
connection.
the impressions are at.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
do like the engagement on stories. The only option is a direct message.
Yeah.
So when people, if you ask a question or you stir up engagement in a story and they reply, it comes to you in a DM.
Uh,
Whereas when people comment on a
Hmm.
a stationary post or a reel, it is posted as a comment, which doesn't necessarily generate your need to reply.
mm,
But when someone sends you something in a DM,
yeah.
to me, that is an open door to start a narrative with them.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I do think that is another big piece of the story
Yeah.
that is making it
Hmm.
way more viable. And it feels challenging, but I really think stories can be as simple as you make it.
Yeah.
People just want a little glimpse of your life and
Mm,
what is behind the scenes
mm.
and things that can feel very private, and maybe even feel like, why would anyone care?
That's where
They
I get
just
stuck.
like to see. It's like
Yes.
seeing your teacher at Walmart. The
It's
kids
an
see
out
the
of body
teacher at Walmart and they're like,
experience,
oh my
man. I
God,
remember that when I was a kid.
she leaves. Yes, like
She shops.
yes, it's like she grocery shops. Yes, yes, and it's the same thing. Is we see these businesses, and
Yeah.
we see this because that's all we see. But when we can give
Hmm.
them a little bit, it feels extra special, and it gets their attention.
I was just wondering who Carrie would say would be the spokesperson for that. If you're at a firm that has more than one person, right? If it's not just solopreneur, who's given those stories?
Hmm. Great question. I think it is would be super fun for everyone to be able, maybe a designer shoots a little behind the scenes or they're on their way to be on site that day.
Hmm.
Another person is maybe working at a table and putting pieces and samples together, exploring different flooring, exploring
Mm,
different wallpaper books, whatever. People just want to see, like, oh, it doesn't
Hmm.
just come to you like this and you just lay it here and it's done. No, like, you're moving and so I think even someone working, behind the scenes. And then I mean, of course, they want to hear from Katie. They want to hear
Hmm.
from the designer
which is hard for
that
me.
they
Like,
love and
I'm not gonna
follow.
lie. Yeah.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. It is. And I can see where it's hard to find a good balance
It is.
because you want to present yourself
Yes.
as a professional
Hmm.
and with credibility
Yeah.
and the authority and the
Mhm.
experience and
Mhm.
the so it's not like you want to just post anything and everything,
Yeah.
but people like to be able to relate to you.
I
And
think
like
that's
Erin
very
had
fair.
said, sometimes, it might be a little bit intimidating. Like
Hmm.
Hmm.
I mean, I love design and I like to tinker around my own home but to hire a designer would
Mm.
probably be kind of
Hmm.
intimidating for me.
Sure.
Like I
Sure.
don't want it to be all, hoity-toity and look like a country club in here. But you know what I mean? Like I feel like we all have our own, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know, concerns, but like as you see, oh my God, they're a real person.
Yeah.
Like their house is fun too. And you know what? Their laundry basket is on their coffee table too. And it's
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
She's not turning inside out.
Nope.
Like,
Nope. It's
yeah.
so true. Well, and I think too, like the whole reason I started the webcast was to come in here and share my experiences and share the mistakes and share what I have learned with other people and empower, especially because our industry is so dominated by women, but empower them to go forth and do and create and be, and you can do this. But then what's hard and what a lot of people may not realize is I'm really introverted on the inside. So for every hour I spend hanging out and pushing this out, I need an hour by myself, which is so hard with children. That doesn't always happen, which is why sometimes at night I will lay in bed and watch Jamie Oliver, and he has 5 ingredients on his cooking show because that's all my brain can handle at that point. And I just want to be left alone. And I even tell the dog, it's so sad. He knows the command your half, which means he has to go to his half of the bed because I don't even want the dog butting up to my legs in any way. I need just a hot minute. But I think knowing and being honest with yourself, like how much of myself do I want to put out here? How much of myself do I need to put out here? And then also saying, what is my why? And what is my target demographic need? It was so helpful when Carrie was like, yes, but this is what they need to be able to relate to. And I'm like, well, if I'm meeting somebody's needs, I think especially as women, we're much more inclined to do that. It's like, oh, they need that. Well, yeah, I want to help with that, right? Like they need that connectivity. Okay, I'm more inclined then to say, oh, here, come to your point. Come see the incredible laundry basket sitting on my coffee table. Or in my case, like, why are there 500 shoes on the doormat in the garage to the point that I can't even safely guide my way into my own house that I pay a mortgage on? It is one of the banes of my existence. Or why do my children leave my socks outside not the dishwasher, but the washing machine? Why can't they just gingerly put them inside the open hole that conveniently is at their level? Things like that. And it makes it real, right? Because we're all fighting those battles. Oh my gosh, we're all fighting those battles. Great conversation. Before we wrap up, I want to give you each a chance to speak into your space about what you think is missed or anything that we haven't touched on that's really important, whether you are a budding designer hanging out your shingle or if you're a 20-year veteran who's pretty much seen it all. What would you say, Aaron?
Take a look at your search footprint, see how people are seeing you. And if you're not visible in search, then you need to start taking steps to fix that soon, because it is just how people are finding most people today. If it's not word of mouth, then it's going to be search. And even if it's word of mouth, they're probably still coming to your site to verify and qualify you. So you've got to have some sort of search presence. So start there.
I love that. Carrie?
And my number one piece of advice is always, no matter what industry you're in, just to be genuine and to be yourself. It's so much easier to market a business or an industry when you're being yourself. And that's what people are drawn to. And people like to work with people that they know, like, and trust. And I feel like it's just easier and to come up with things when you're not trying to be something that you're not. And I also think that it's important to, like Aaron had said, do some things right now. Like if you have a to-do list, go ahead and get started. Even the little things. I always tell people, do the marketing that you like to do because it will get done. Yeah. If there's something that you just dread, you really, really want to do those Facebook Lives every Friday, but every Friday you come up with a reason to not make it work, then let's go to plan B. The marketing that you enjoy is the marketing that's going to get done.
Yeah.
And the marketing that gets done consistently is the marketing that works.
I love that. What a great statement. And the one thing I see that is bridging this entire conversation that keeps coming up and over again, coming up over and over again. There we go. Is the connectivity piece. Know your target market, connect with them, communicate to them. And I think especially we've seen all the loneliness surveys after COVID and how many people are longing for connection. And a digital footprint allows you to do that still in a very meaningful way if it's authentic. So seek the authenticity quotient. Great conversation. Thank you both so much for your time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Katie.
All right, we have a great question in today's colorful questions, and it is, how much money should I be spending on marketing? Oh, this is so good. Okay, general rule of thumb is 30%. That being said, as you've heard in today's conversation, it is all about knowing that target market and knowing where they're hanging out. You may need to spend less than that. You may need to spend more than that. And I should clarify, that is 30% of your net profit, not your gross. So don't have a heart attack about that. But you should be reinvesting. Why is this hard to do? One, because it can feel like you're not getting the return on investment you want, at which point you should definitely be talking to those that you've employed in your marketing department, whether it's your SEO specialist, your social media specialist, whoever it is. Talk to them so you're getting the confidence that you are spending your money well, or you need to reallocate those funds. But either way, 30% net is the general rule. That being said, as always, tailor it to your firm and your target demographic.